guys, full day of eating today. So I want to show you typically what I'd eat through prep, maybe some of the changes I'm going to make along the way, because nutrition is so individualized. It needs to work for you. What works for me, and I've obviously done 2 preps already, so I have made some mistakes along the way, but it's keeping nutrition fairly consistent throughout the prep. The less sort of decision fatigue I have and trying to think what I'm gonna make or trying to count my macros, the less likely I am to go off track with my nutrition. But not only that, you want to take that sort of level of decision making down during a prep. Whatever you can do to make your life easier is crucial. So I basically I stick to sort of a meal plan, and that's what works for me. I've got my coaches laid out all my meals with the macros. So if there is ever an occasion, like normally at the beginning of prep, if I wanted to go, there's been a couple of occasions now where I've been out during the day and I've prepped something different to go. It's been nice here in Glasgow, other than today, record on a pretty grim day. But we've had a couple of picnics out, so I've made like chicken wraps instead of what I normally have, which would just be chicken and rice. Typically as I go through prep, like towards the later ends, maybe like 6 weeks out, I'm not going to do those sort of things. But now it is a case of like on my day-to-day routine, so Monday through to Friday, exactly the same foods. Saturday and Sunday, pretty much exactly the same as well, unless I'm doing something like that, going out for a picnic, and I'll just count the macros and make sure they equate to what I normally do. And again, it's good nutrition. I'm not going for processed foods. It will be pretty much whole foods throughout, with obviously the exception today, you're going to see a training day. I will have Cocoa Pops post-workout, which is one I look forward to at the moment. I'm at that stage of prep now where I'm starting to get a little bit hungrier, like I'm looking forward to meals. For me, that's a good sign. It's a sign that things are moving and changing. So yeah, I'm gonna crack into meal one, and meal one has remained the same for a long time. You saw it in the last post, vlog even. 3 eggs, 2 bacon medallions, and some greens, and 100 grams of sourdough. So I'm gonna get cracking and cook meal one. So that is meal one ready to go, guys. We have the meal here, so it looks pretty good. I use a little bit of this, which is so good. The HP reduced salt and sugar. So I'll just put like a little bit of this on. I don't track it, so I'm not too anal about that, because it only goes in this meal and my final meal. And then I'll just use 0-cal cooking spray as well. So I'll use a little bit of that. Again, that won't be tracked. But this meal will pretty much stay the same. The only thing that will change out of this is eventually in the later stages of prep, the sourdough will come out. I should note as well, routine is so important for me. So this meal goes in at the moment, it's about 8:30, so it'll go in then, 8:30, 8:45, sorry. So it'll go in then, and then like in the later stages of prep, I will tend to have this a little bit later on. So I'll push my meal one back to maybe like 11, 11:30, as I'll tend to get a bit hungrier later on in the day. Before this, I've done 25 minutes fasted cardio, as well as trying to get my hydration in. So I'll try and get at least 3 litres of water done before I train. Training's normally like 1 o'clock-ish. And then I'll get about 1 litre to 1.5 litres during training, and the rest of my water intake will go in after that. But that's it. I'm going to tuck into this meal and I'll see you in the next one. Pre-workout's about to go down. I'm going to make protein oats. Normally I do this in the microwave. I'm at that stage of prep now where I want my food to actually taste good, and porridge on the stove just tastes so much better and it's not as dry. So I've got 100 grams of oats in here with a cup of water. To be honest with you, I'm probably going to need to add a little bit more water to this, and I'm going to cook this for about 5-10 minutes. Add some raspberries, some frozen raspberries, just to let it cool down a bit before then adding the protein, so the protein basically doesn't turn into scrambled egg, because if you add the protein into the hot porridge, it makes a really horrible sort of rubbery texture to it. So that's what I'm going to do. I will come back once I made this. So guys, that is the finished product. Looks pretty good. Probably could have used a bigger bowl, but we have 100 grams of raspberries, frozen raspberries, 100 grams of oats, 55 grams of whey, and 20 grams of peanut butter. This is going to be my pre-workout meal. I've got some water, which I'm going to finish as well, and then I'm nice and hydrated before going in for push today, so a push session. I'm not going to record any of the clips because I posted some clips from that push session on the last vlog. So I'm going to tuck into this and I'll come back for post-workout. So guys, back for post-workout. And post-workout is 150 grams of Cocoa Pops and 50 grams of whey protein. And typically, again, I just mix this with water and I'll pour that into the Cocoa Pops. And that's had about 4 litres of water so far. I've got another glass of water here. So after that, it's going to be close to about 5, and then I'll have another litre. So I usually have about 6 litres of water. So I'm going to tuck into this and I'll catch you at meal 4. So guys, meal 4 now. This is my second last meal of the day, and I have got here 500 grams of Alpro soya yogurt. It's the low sugar one. And then I've got 100 grams of banana and 2 caramel rice cakes. So this is quite a good meal. Again, you might be thinking, Chris, you eat a load of whey protein. It kind of goes back to the start what I was saying on the individuality of nutrition. It has to work for you. For some people that might be too much and hard to digest, but for me, it sits well in my stomach. It's easy for me to digest. I enjoy it, so I enjoy the way I eat. I know it seems quite monotonous, quite boring, but in a prep, having tons of highly palatable foods, you're more likely just to go off track completely. So I'm going to get stuck into this meal and I will catch you at meal number 5. So, 5th and final meal of the day going down, we have 30 grams of basmati rice, and it kind of looks like a lot in there, but it's really not a lot at all. 200 grams of chicken, both uncooked weights by the way, and then 100 grams of green beans. So quite a bro meal to finish the day off, but again, this is what works for me. That rice, as we go through prep, I might typically switch that out for potatoes because it's got a higher satiety index than the rice. It's going to keep me fuller for longer. I'll get a touch more volume. But for now, absolutely fine. White rice digests pretty well for me. So does potatoes, to be fair. So I'm going to get into this final meal, and then I'm just going to summarize. I want to summarize some of the points I've kind of gone through in this video for like a typical prep diet and what to kind of follow. So I'll give you some sort of guidelines and we'll finish on that. So guys, I have written down, because I'm going to forget, my sort of most important points I would suggest for your nutrition during a prep. So number one, I've banged on about it throughout this video, is choose a nutritional approach that works for you. So like little things like the sauces, I don't keep a track of that, but it remains consistent throughout. I stick to a food plan. That's personally what works for me. It's less decision fatigue. So these are little things you need to take into consideration when it comes to a prep. But ultimately, what works for me might not work for someone else. So someone else might choose a macro or calorie counting approach on MyFitnessPal. I tend to just stick to what I'm given, and there's no need to even worry about tracking because I know exactly what I'm getting in. Number two is eliminate or reduce highly palatable foods within the diet. I think this is quite a key one for prep, guys, because eventually during those later stages of prep, that food might become more of like a trigger food for you to go and eat loads of it especially when your hunger hormones are kind of a bit all over the place. So I would suggest trying to eliminate those foods towards the later stages and not have them in. So again, that's why I think like a meal plan with mainly whole foods is highly valuable during a prep. But if you're good at just kind of keeping a track, I mean, I know people who intuitively eat throughout their prep, and I think that's just crazy. But again, that works for someone else. But I would suggest not having in kind of those highly palatable, like snacky type foods. And also, you're not going to get the most value out of those foods nutrition wise. And in a prep, when food's low, you're going to have really nutrient dense foods. And that leads me on to point three, is choose whole foods and ones with a high satiety rating. So I mentioned obviously that rice in the final meal. I might switch that out for potatoes, which has a slightly higher satiety rating. Incorporating sort of low calorie dense foods is also a good idea, just to add more volume to meals, and that can also help you to have that sensation of eating more, feeling a little bit fuller as well. Number four, center the majority of your carbs around the workout window. I think this is so important just to fuel your performance in the session. Performance is key throughout the prep. You want to make sure you're maintaining that throughout, and also to aid in your recovery as well. So that is a key one. You'll notice my two meals around the workout window: big bowl of oats, big bowl of Cocoa Pops post workout. Number five, stay hydrated throughout the day. I think this is so important. Again, going back to the performance is important for your performance, but also important to get that sense, like to keep hunger at bay as well. If you're drinking more water, it can help, and it's going to aid in digestion. It's going to help with all your bodily processes. So keep hydrated, stay hydrated. That's going to look a little bit different. The larger you are, the more water you're going to need. Number six, keep similar meal timings throughout the day for your routine, and also to reduce variables later on in prep. You know, if your meals are all over the place, that could have an impact on your performance. Once again, it could have an impact on your sleep. You know, you might be not that organized one day and you eat really close to bedtime. and perhaps that impacts your sleep, or perhaps you're not eating, you eat too early on in the day and it's too far away from bedtime, you're going to bed hungry. And again, like these little points are, these little fine details are so important during a prep. So I think it's so important just to have that structure and routine throughout. And number 7 is cut off caffeine before 12. Now, this isn't really nutrition related, but I would suggest making sure that you have that caffeine cut off point. Now, the further on prep you go, you might need a little bit more. You might extend that window to maybe 2 o'clock, but I think it's so important to cut that off so it doesn't have an impact on your sleep, and your sleep's your biggest recovery tool. So there are my points, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something a bit more educational out of this video, because I know a lot of full day of eating videos are just kind of entertainment based, but again, just me wanting to provide some education as well and to help you guys out. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for the next vlog.